This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Kahr Firearms Group studio
At the Patriot Mobile Communication Center.
on the SIG Sauer Platinum microphone.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
The Monster Cast begins right now. There's no NFL here at the ranch, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't seen a Super Bowl in 16 years of Sundays. That's remarkable, and I love it. Got rid of them years ago, never looked back. Welcome to the Armed American Radio studios here, the Kahr Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom in front of the SIG Sauer microphone. It's all being brought to you by the great X Insurance here at the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. Greg in Dallas, how you doing? We want to make this quick because I've got part of an executive order I want to read, and then we'll go directly to Alan Gottlieb. If you'll tell people where to get it on the chat, I'll tell people where they can watch because we have some new platforms today for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We are all over the place tonight. But first of all, go Birds. Second of all, if you'd like to join the live chats, just head on over to your app store, grab the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversation.
Yeah, that'll do it. So we're on new platforms today. You can watch us live on Rumble. We see some viewers over there already. Rumble, just search for Armed American Radio, Mark Walters. YouTube, Armed American Radio, Mark Walters. You can find us over on YouTube live right now. We are also live on camera on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Facebook is still not up yet, but we're working on that. And you can watch us on your Apple TV and Roku TV and all that fun stuff by downloading the OpsLens app. It is free. All you got to do is sign in, and you can watch us on all of your television devices as well. Let's get started with this monster cast today. So I'm going to start with the protecting Second Amendment rights. By the authority vested in me as president, by the Constitution and the laws of the U.S., it is hereby ordered. Purpose. The Second Amendment is an indispensable safeguard of security and liberty. It has preserved the right of the American people to protect ourselves, our families, and our freedoms since the founding of our great nation. Because it is foundational to maintaining all other rights held by Americans, the right to keep and bear arms must not be infringed. Let me stop there and go to Alan Gottlieb and go through the rest of this with him, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation, and get his commentary. Alan, welcome to the program, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you here. We'll let you get back to the football game soon, I promise.
No, I'll pass on the football game. I much prefer Armed American Radio. No problem.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, that was a great executive order that President Trump signed on Friday. It was, we knew it was coming, and it was great. He didn't forget gun owners. Promises made, promises kept.
You know, a lot of people were concerned about it. We had the conversation on last week's Daily Defense. Everybody just needed to take a breather. The man's very busy. We knew he was going to get to this. Although it didn't happen on day one, a lot of people got a lot of froggy. There were some big gun groups saying, hey, we got to start holding his feet to the fire. And then, bam, on Friday, ladies and gentlemen, after Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, I got the alerts on this, and I was unable to bring it to you until today. Alan, let's take first one. Let's go to plan of action, which is section 2. Within 30 days of the date.
Wait, Mark. Wait, before you go to that,
Sure.
Obviously, the plan of action there is the instructions to Attorney General Pam Bondi on what she needs to do to implement the executive order. Go ahead.
Yeah, and having said that, within 30 days, this order gives her 30 days, and the AG, as Alan just said, shall examine all orders, regulations, guidance, plans, international agreements, and other actions of executive departments and agencies to assess any ongoing infringements of the Second Amendment rights of our citizens and present a proposed plan of action to the president through the Domestic Policy Advisor, the DPA, to protect the Second Amendment rights of all Americans. How do you think, and what do you think Bondi is going to come up with there? Because I'm sure there's a lot of deep stuff that we're probably unaware of that she might likely find.
There might be some deep stuff there that we're not aware of. We pretty much monitor everything that Biden did when he was president and all the roadblocks he threw in front of the Second Amendment. So we probably know virtually everything, but I wouldn't be surprised if it uncovers some stuff we do not know about. But by and large, I think we know about it. It's going to be a significant amount of actions that Biden took, directing ATF to do various things that are not in sync with the Second Amendment from an administrative branch. It's also probably going to hit in the Department of Commerce some of the things that were put in place for import-export of firearms and ammunition. It's probably going to hit other agencies as well in their areas of enforcement. And, of course, what we're looking at very heavily is the area of litigation because the Obama administration signed on to a lot of activity against lawsuits like the Second Amendment is filed, particularly say on 18 to 20-year-old young adults being able to, buy firearms, and so or handguns at least. So there's going to be a whole lot of areas in that, and a lot of areas I would think that the administration is going to have to walk back some of their court actions, it's really going to hit a whole lot. I think for the firearms industry, the import-export stuff is going to be big because Biden really trampled on, consumers are being able to buy firearms from, foreign vendors, and likewise trampled on, gun companies being able to sell their products, out of the country. Transportation as well, regulations on transporting firearms, both domestically and internationally. There's a whole lot of areas where Pam Bondi is going to have a whole lot to review and go over. And then, of course, 30 days out, then those recommendations will be made and actions will be taken.
Yeah, so much to unpack, Alan. Let's start with ATF. Let's start with quote-unquote ATF rules. How deep is this going to go? Are we going to see every one of their made-up rules completely rolled back now? Let's use their terms for listeners around the country who might not know it otherwise, because they hear it all over the media. Ghost guns, for example. And what happens with any pending litigation going forward from our side? How is this going to work? And what kind of time frame do you think we're looking at here for all of this to happen? This appears to be a massive undertaking.
Well, it's massive, but it's not massive. There's a lot of undertakings the administration is engaged in that are significantly, more deep and intense than this, because there aren't that many things. But in the area of litigation is one of the things we're concerned about, because, a lot of our cases that we file and suits on and we win at the lower court levels and get appealed on up, or even at the lower court levels, the administration is no longer going to be fighting some of the suits that, say, the Second Amendment Foundation and others file because of the infringement on the Second Amendment, and they know we're right, and so it's going to cut out a lot of pushback we were getting from the Biden administration to our legal actions. That's an area that's, I think, extremely important, and likewise, I think you're going to see actions taken by agencies like the ATF. Significantly rolled back. I'm really mostly concerned about some of the activities ATF has done where they've, gone after gun owners, in my opinion, illegitimately. And those are going to get really rolled back, and it's going to give a lot more freedom to Americans, not only just gun owners, but people that might be suspected of owning a gun, where ATF tends to run wild from time to time. I think some of those things are going to change. And so how the laws get implemented as well is going to be, I think, covered by this executive order. So gun owners aren't going to be threatened so much by the federal government.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on with that. For example, we look at the recent Fifth Circuit case, and it's a case that we, for the 18 to 20-year-olds, right? If this had been the Biden administration, the Biden administration would likely have appealed that to the Supreme Court. The Trump administration is not going to. So in that respect, having a pro-gun administration and a president can seemingly work against us, Alan. And I've had a lot of questions. It would almost be better if that case were appealed to the Supreme Court, so it didn't just apply to the Fifth Circuit. So does that work against us sometimes?
It might, but we also have similar cases on state level that deal with the same subject. Yeah. That some anti-gun state attorney generals will be appealing, and so that issue will get to the Supreme Court anyway.
All right, Greg, how much time do I have before I hit with this question? I'm going to likely wait before
about 50.
About 50 seconds. Okay, Alan. Let me just throw this out from the states now. I'm not going to have time to get into it. So let me just, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a break. We're talking with Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation. I'm not going to have enough time to get the question out, so I'm going to kind of just sit here and jaw with you for about another 30 seconds now until we can come back from the break, and I can ask Alan. We can go into some greater detail without having to get cut off, because I've got a number of questions still about Bondi. There was a lot of concern about Pam Bondi, and I want to ask Alan a little bit about how this might impact those persons' concerns. And also Section 4 of the order. I want to get some details on the general provisions in Section 4. When we come back from the break, I'll read you that, and we'll ask Alan how he interprets that relative to laws going forward that may or may not change, or what may happen. I'll explain it all when we come back from this break. Armed American Radio's Monstercast will continue. We're talking with the great Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation. When you get a chance, check out all our partners at armedamericanradio.com, armedamericanradio.com. They make it all possible. We'll be back right after this in 4 minutes. Yeah, Greg, I think
what?
Our mics are live, by the way, on the stream. Hey, streamers, love you guys. I think that stream key might have expired on the Facebook platform.
Oh, that's possible.
I'll do that. following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching on your devices or television sets, this phone I'm holding up is a Patriot Mobile activated phone. You can do the same thing. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR, patriotmobile.com/AAR. Use that code over there, sign up, and get free activation. Saves you about $75. You do not have to move all your phones at one time. You can do them you can do it piecemeal. One phone, one number at a time. I understand it's expensive. It was expensive here because I just happened to buy 4 new phones and hadn't had them all paid off. So it was going to cost a bit. So we're just moving them piecemeal. You can do the same thing. patriotmobile.com/AAR. Welcome back inside the Kahr Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters in front of the SIG Sauer mic, talking with Alan Gottlieb here, and it's all brought to you by the great X Insurance. Alan, welcome back to the program, my friend.
Good to be back.
So let's go to General Provision Section 4. I was rethinking during the break how I was going to ask this question. I don't want to single out any particular writer or any individual that had given me some comments on this as we talked about it over the weekend. So I just want to read this, and I want to ask you a broad brush question. It states in Section 4, the final provision in the White House executive order from Trump. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect, 1, the authority granted by law to an executive department, agency, or the head thereof, or the functions of the Director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. And then B, this order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. And C, this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. So here's my broad brush question. Do you find anything in that section that I just read problematic or potentially problematic at all?
Not really. Most of that is boilerplate language that's used in a lot of different executive orders. So I don't know what the intent behind all this is. So that doesn't concern me in the least. I think gun owners can be very, very pleased by the actions that will be forthcoming because of this executive order.
All right, and let me turn back to Pam Bondi for a moment. As you know, there has been a lot of trepidation, or not a lot. You and I've supported her nomination. I had made this public. I had no fear and still don't have any fear of Pam Bondi because my personal belief is that Trump's mandate trumps anything that anybody in a cabinet level position might want to do individually, because he is moving so fast and so strong and has made his position on the Second Amendment very clear. I find it very difficult to believe that she would try to buck him on that issue at all. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who might not be aware, I am referring to her previous support for a couple issues, provisions within the Parkland bill that she vocally supported, that being red flags and taking the gun rights away from 18 to 21-year-olds in the state of Florida. That was problematic, Alan. This executive order, though, I think might lay to rest any concern or trepidation others out there might have had regarding their fear of Bondi. Fair assessment? Or am I overly optimistic?
I can't. Well, the problem is I can't talk for other people out there. Some of them, on internet chatter probably aren't going to go away and still look at Bondi as not being 100% pro-gun. But I think everybody has to admit she's at minimum 80% pro-gun and probably more like 90% pro-gun. And a lot of what she did as Attorney General of Florida was carrying water where she has to defend state laws the legislature's passed. And there's good things Pam Bondi did for gun owners when she was Attorney General of Florida as well. But I think the bottom line here is that she serves at the pleasure of the president. Right. And she puts his agenda in place. And I think the Trump pro-gun rights agenda should take care of all that without a problem. Like right now, as examples, it's not necessarily public knowledge, but supposedly Pam Bondi, as Attorney General, is pushing for the next director of the ATF to have somebody with law enforcement experience. And a lot of gun owners, gun rights activists, and gun groups are pushing for some people that want to disrupt the agency a bit and not necessarily come from a law enforcement background, but come from more of a background in just management of the agency itself, who they know are pro-gun. So there may be a few little bumps here and there, but by and large, let's say, compared to the Biden administration, this is the most pro-gun administration we're ever going to have in history.
That's a bold statement, and I agree with you. And when you were talking about the 80% or 90%, that's really what I was stating without stating it that way. Let me phrase what I mean by that. That additional 20% that might not be there, I think Trump's positions that she will be required to carry out by serving at the pleasure of the president will take care of that 20% if it were 80% pro-gun and 10% if it were 90. That's why I don't fear anything about Pam Bondi relative to our gun rights. But we're going to watch it carefully and see what happens. And, as much as I hate to say this, Alan, we'll see that play out over the next tragedy. And sadly, it's likely there will be another tragedy in the United States, and we're going to see how that plays out. So how do you expect the Democrats now, because they're losing their minds, not just on this, but on a lot of fronts, how do you expect the Democrats in the anti-gun establishment, the Everytown for Gun Safety, Bloomberg's money, Giffords, and the rest, the Brady's, how do you expect them to react to this, and how will they continue to push their agenda in the face of this, because they're not going to go away?
Well, you're right. They're not going to go away, and we're already watching them have strokes, so to speak. They're not happy with Bondi being the Attorney General. They're not happy, obviously, with Trump being president. They're not happy that their inside lobbyist who ran ATF is gone already. So, I mean, they're going to double and triple down. And the more they do that, the crazier they get, and the more the American people see just how extreme they really are. In the long run, rather than trying to move a little bit to the center and see what might be possible for them to get through as regulations on gun owners, they're going more and more to the extremes, which in the long run benefits us, I think.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And I've made it known that we're going to see them moving to the states now, not so much at the federal level. That will occur, ladies and gentlemen, when something bad happens. And it's life. There are bad people out there. Something bad likely will happen. When that happens, we'll see them pressure at the federal level, no question about it. But they're going to double and triple down at the states. What do you think this order, will it have any trickle-down effect to the states behind the blue wall, people that are living in Massachusetts or New Jersey, Illinois, Washington State, for example? Colorado's having a bunch of problems right now. Kay Ivey just signed on, a Republican in Alabama, obviously California. What do you think this will trickle-down effect, if any?
Well, I think the only trickle-down effect I can come up with real quickly is the fact that the Justice Department has, basically a lot of times decided with amicus briefs on behalf of some of the states that passed gun control laws. Those amicus briefs supporting gun control laws enacted by the states are not going to be there anymore.
Okay. Now, I think this is very important, and I want to close out with this our segments with you now, Alan. We have 30 minutes. Please tell people that we have to learn to be on. We have got to learn how to be on offense, Alan. We've got to learn to transition, to continue this fight on offense so that we can put nails in the coffin of every effort the gun grabbers have thrown at us for really over the last 16 to 20 years. Tell me I'm right there, that we've got to learn how to play offense now.
Well, I think we know how to play offense. We just haven't had the opportunity to really do it. Now we'll have the opportunity to do it. And I think gun owners, they get more engaged when they're being attacked.
Right.
Now they got to learn to be more engaged on offense to be able to attack the other side and win rights back.
You better believe it. Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation, my dear friend, thank you for being here. Go back to the game. Yeah. Sorry for yanking you away from it. We'll be back right after the break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason on KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker, and you're tuned into the Armed American Radio Network. Now let's get back to the man himself, Mark Walters.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have you with us today. See a bunch of you watching on Twitter over there. That's always fun. And, it is Super Bowl Sunday, so hey, if you're catching us on a podcast later and you watch the game, it's okay. We don't watch it here. Never have. Don't care about it. Gave that stuff up years ago and really, truly never looked back. When they started going woke on me, I just bailed on them. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, man, I've got my Sundays back and my Saturdays late in the season and my Thursday nights and my Monday nights, and I've never missed a beat. So you should try it sometime. Kick the habit. They don't like you. Roger Goodell's a moron. He's a fool. Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues. Let's go right to the phones. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News, joins us right now. AWR, how you doing, my brother?
Doing good. Good to be with you.
Yeah, I'm sorry to take you guys away from the game. I know you guys are probably watching it, but kind of not. Let's talk about the executive order from Trump. I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. A lot of people say, well, it was a long time coming. He's been president for 3 weeks. We had to kind of kick back a little bit. We knew this was coming, and here it is. I mean, 3 weeks is pretty fast as far as I'm concerned, AWR. Were you disappointed it didn't happen on day one? Are you satisfied with what you see in the order? Tell us your thoughts.
I like everything he's done. I like when this came. I like the order itself. I'm perfectly satisfied with it.
Is there anything in it that concerns you at all?
No, not a bit. No, there's nothing in it that concerns me. It's all about finding infringements and wiping them out. So I'm all for it.
I am too. Do you think she can get that job done within 30 days? She might need a little bit more time. We kind of don't know what's underneath some of the rocks and what the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, which is now history, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we don't know what they were up to. But these are sneaky, dirty, rotten scoundrel people. Who knows what was going on behind the scenes with a lot of gun controllers, with an office in the White House, and a lot of Bloomberg money. Do you expect that she's going to find everything?
Yeah, I do. I don't have any doubt. I'm not a bit worried about it.
States now.
I think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just not a bit worried. I'm not a bit worried about it.
So the fight's going to move to the states now. You agree? Federal level for the anti-gunners is pretty much wiped out.
Yeah. Right. I agree 100%.
New Mexico Democrats push sweeping ban on semi-automatic firearms. They're right where I'm leading. It's the second story you got up in your lineup. Seriously, New Mexico? What gives here, AWR? Yeah, what are they up to?
But this is a do-over. They've already done this once. So it's just a do-over. So it's the same thing they pushed before. They're so out of ideas that now they're just reintroducing the same gun controls. And this particular gun control will ban pretty much every semi-automatic rifle that's centerfire that you can imagine. They're trying to disguise it as a ban on gas-operated rifles, but
yeah.
All that means is it's a ban on AR-15s.
Without calling it a ban on AR-15s. Any potential for this to get legs in New Mexico? Grisham is one of those scoundrels, bro.
I don't know that it'll get. Well, I don't know. They have so many Democrats there. There's no telling what could happen. So I'm not sure. I mean, New Mexico it's in the toilet. So I don't know.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about this fight going to the states, I want to briefly mention Virginia. You had 3 Republicans vote for a gun safety package in Virginia, so it got out of the Virginia House just a couple days ago. AWR, when it comes to Republicans who just won't toe the line, whether it's at the state level or federal level, we got to get rid of these people. If they're not able to toe the line on our gun rights and they don't get it, they need to go. And we just saw what Kay Ivey did in Alabama. Let's talk briefly about that. And I can't wait to ask you why she did what she did, but if you would explain to us what she did and then why you think she did it. What the hell is she trying to prove in the great state of Alabama, who state, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, has the highest per capita permit population in the nation. It's a very gun-friendly state. So let's start with that.
Well, all she's saying, she's going to support a ban on Glock switches. It's been put forward by Democrats, so that's where we are. I think maybe if the people of Alabama could make enough noise she might change her mind. So that's kind of where we are on that. And I don't know why she's doing what she's doing. It makes zero sense to me why she's doing it, but she is doing it. And it is, I told you when we talked this week, she's saying that she's doing it because criminals are using them. And so like I asked in my piece, what are you going to do if criminals start using shotguns? Are you going to ban those? I mean, that approach is just ludicrous.
Well, not to mention the Glock switches that we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, are already banned at the federal level. They're already banned.
So they're going to double ban them. Yeah.
I mean, that's like hitting your key fob to lock your car twice for extra lockiness,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a George W. Bush fan, but I remember when he was running for office and the guy killed the guy in Jasper, and everybody wanted George W. Bush to try him on a hate crime. And he said, he's already been sentenced to death. What do you want me to do, kill him twice? And that's kind of the same mentality that Kay Ivey is demonstrating here, because she's trying to ban what's already banned. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like there's something in her that she has to sign on to a gun control. I don't know.
Yeah, and usually it's what I was talking about this on the Daily Defense last week, AWR. Usually when something like this pops up, there's got to be money involved somewhere. I don't know that to be the case, but 20 years of writing about this, 16 years of talking about this on the nation's airwaves, you can always trust when something weird is going on with a politician of either party, there's a money trail somewhere. Because every town for gun safety and the Bloombergians were all applauding her move. So I don't know why she's doing it, but the overarching point here, ladies and gentlemen, is that you cannot sleep, even if you live in Alabama or Texas or Florida or Georgia or Arizona. You cannot sleep. Speaking of Arizona, Quang is coming on the program at the top of the next hour, and he's going to talk about what you guys are fighting back in Arizona, folks, in what is widely regarded as the #1 pro-gun state in the country. So AWR, it's just more proof positive that we cannot let our guard down. We're on offense. We need to carry that, not just at the federal level, but also at the state level as well. Would you agree?
I agree 100%.
Yeah, let's talk about what Governor DeSantis is doing now with the time we have left in this segment with you. He's pushing a Second Amendment summer with no sales tax on guns and ammo. And wouldn't you know, Miami papers are all screaming loud about DeSantis and how he's trying to do everything he can to wreck gun safety, common sense legislation, and all this nonsense. Why?
I mean, you mean why are they doing it?
No, what are they concerned with? Because there's no tax, no sales tax on guns and ammo. Criminals aren't buying their guns and paying taxes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ridiculous deal. I mean, and they said that we could better use a tax holiday for hurricane victims and this and that and this and that. And they don't understand, this is not something that happens and means other tax breaks can happen too. This is just a genius idea that let's do a tax break on firearms as well. Let's do it. And it's not even a long tax break. It's from Memorial Day to July 4th. So it's not the whole summer. I'm not saying that in a negative sense. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great idea. And, I just, as usual, the left cries. And you know what? Let them cry. And the liberal tears make my cinnamon rolls sweeter in the morning. They can just keep that in mind.
You are correct about that. And the Miami Herald is just, they've lost their minds, guys. Like most liberals around the country over the last 3 weeks, they're just literally losing their minds. They've lost it. But this is projected, according to the Miami Herald, to save Floridians about $8 million in sales taxes on ammunition, firearms, and related accessories. And I'll tell you what, AWR, as we close out this segment, that's going to be great for the firearms industry. They're going to be a big uptick in sales in the state of Florida on both ammunition, firearms, and related accessories. So hats off to DeSantis for that. When we come back, I want to talk with you a little bit about how you feel what kind of progress might be made in Florida on open carry. He has voiced his support for that. We've got one more segment with the great AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. We'll be back in 4 minutes on the flip side of this break. Guys are back at you here in about a minute.
30.
I stand corrected. 30 seconds.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
I know Mike Gallagher's right there with him. I've talked to him many times. He loves our Second Amendment. Thanks for the rejoin, Mike. You can listen to Mike Gallagher every morning Eastern, 9 a.m. to noon, and Pacific time, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Salem Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Kahr Firearms Group Studios. The SIG Sauer mic is lit up for you here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. It's all brought to you by X Insurance. They're all fantastic partners of ours. All of our partners are the best. Make sure to check them out. You can find them at armedamericanradio.com on the sponsor page. All of them are live links. Visit them. patriotsrelief.com, one of our newest partners. If any pain relief, any sleep aids, Patriots Relief has you covered. patriotsrelief.com/AAR, and you get 40% off right out of the box. Bud's Gun Shop has everything that you need. That's our official exclusive online retailer, budsgunshop.com. Patriot Mobile, of course, and Barrel Buddy. Pitch the patch. Get rid of the old news. Bring in the new products. Barrel Buddies clean your guns in 2 passes. You can clean them right there at the range when you're done. Put them back in your range bag or stick that pistol right back on your hip, and it is ready to rock and roll. And don't forget Heaven's Harvest for your emergency food supplies and those 15-minute heat in the bags for when you're doing your summer activities, whether you're boating, camping, whatever it may be on vacation. Heaven's Harvest has you covered. AWR Hawkins, welcome back to the broadcast, brother. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Want to stay on DeSantis briefly because he has made some public comments about wanting an open carry bill on his desk. The president of the Florida Senate has already said it's DOA. A lot of politics being played down there. You know, DeSantis has a knack for getting what he wants. Is Florida finally going to join the other 48 states that have some form of open carry?
I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen. I'll just put it that way. And I know DeSantis is not running again, so he doesn't have the ability to excite the electorate as he usually would. But I do believe he's going to get gun owners excited. I believe it will pass.
I hope you're right about that. Florida listeners, gun owners, you're tuned in on a number of stations in the state of Florida. We're going to stay on this for you, and I got a lot of comments and a lot of text messages and a lot of emails from you down there. And we've got Lee, the Gunwriter Williams, as well. AWR is going to be all over this. So, you know, we're going to keep our eyes peeled, and hopefully whatever politics is in play behind the scenes plays out in your favor. That would be huge news for the state of Florida. Hey, AWR, we have a couple happy ending stories we'll get to in just a moment, but we've also got a couple of bills out there right now that I want to run by you that you've written about. Chip Roy introduced a bill to protect veterans' Second Amendment rights. Chip Roy, of course, a Republican out of Texas, introduced legislation just this past Tuesday to protect military veterans from having their Second Amendment rights stripped away by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Is that going to be a big threat now in a Trump administration, particularly with this executive order? And how do you expect this to move? Because the Biden administration and the Obama administration went after vets and gun rights both heavily.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to move. I hope, this is only one of a couple. Eli Crane has a bill doing a very similar thing. But you got to get it done because for too long they kicked the can down the road, and veterans' rights have been in the crosshairs, the Democrats' crosshairs for 30 years now or so. So somebody's got to put their foot down and tell the little whiny kids, no, you're not doing it anymore. And that's that. And so that's why I hope this passes.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's talk about Hearing Protection Act. There's been a lot of movement in hearing protection. We're also seeing movement on national concealed carry reciprocity. You've written extensively about both of those. My personal belief is, believe it or not, I believe we're going to see Hearing Protection Act. If I had to put money down at a table as to which one of those would probably see the light of day quicker, it's probably going to be the Hearing Protection Act. I could be wrong on that, but I'd really like your thoughts on how you think both of those are going to progress, because there was some bipartisan support for both of them at some point in both houses. How do you think those are going to play out?
Right. Well, I think they're both have an equal shot, and that's because Trump is behind national reciprocity.
Right.
That came after he asked for it, and people who think, well, that doesn't matter. Well, they said the same thing when he said he was going to run again in 2024. But it does matter when Trump sets his mind to something. It happens. So I believe we'll get national reciprocity, and I'm like you. I believe we will get the Hearing Protection Act passed. It's time. If it wasn't for Paul Ryan, we'd already have it. But Paul Ryan is just a rhino, a swamp creature, and he ruined it in 2017.
Yeah, you're right about that. We talked about it when it happened. But again, I hope you're right on both of these fronts, because it is way past time to get this done. It is way past time to get this done. Are you familiar with the Fifth Circuit? I'm kind of going off here. We're just talking about Texas. I was... we were talking about Chip Roy, Texas brought to mind. You got a Fifth Circuit decision down there now that says suppressors, out of the Fifth Circuit, says suppressors are not protected by the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I haven't paid attention to that particular ruling.
Yeah, it's an interesting ruling, ladies and gentlemen. I got a couple emails on it, so I wanted to address it quickly, but it's fairly new news. And what it is basically because without the firearm, it has to be attached separate. That was what the writer said, and I forget the justice's name on the Fifth Circuit who wrote it. It was a woman, and said that suppressors were not protected as an accessory by the Second Amendment. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. How is the administration going to handle something like that moving forward out of the federal courts in the Fifth Circuit, which has been very friendly, as you know, AWR. You've reported a lot of these cases out of the Fifth Circuit. Has been very friendly to gun owners and gun rights across the country. So we'll keep our eyes on that for you too, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's see. We've covered the executive order. We've covered New Mexico. We've covered the Hearing Protection Act. How about the man suspected of shooting 5 people killed in the shootout with police during a gas station robbery, then a sheriff's deputy? This guy had a death wish, bro. You wrote about it.
Yeah, I mean, he just got what was coming. So they got him in a shootout, and he's at room temperature. He's got a toe tag on. That's right where he needed to be.
How about the kid, an armed teen, who demanded an airplane at gunpoint when the pilot retrieved a firearm from his own vehicle and shot him in the chest? What's a teen going to do with an airplane, AWR?
Well, I don't know that the pilot shot him. I think the kid went to the ground immediately when the pilot brought his gun out. I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe the pilot had to shoot him. I believe he just, when he pulled the gun, it freaked the kid out, and the kid complied, and the pilot held him at gunpoint till police arrived.
You are correct about that. I stand corrected. I was looking at a different story at the same time. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to it because we're out of time, AWR. But great writing, as always. AWR Hawkins, the two-way correspondent, and our dear friend and political analyst here on Armed American Radio for many years. You can find him at Breitbart News. Breitbart News, real simple. Just search AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News. You'll get a list of everything in chronological order. The moment it's published, you'll be able to read everything that AWR, and you listen to him here on the program. He's as colorful on paper and in print as he is, or on your screens, mince words there, as he is here on air. AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. Thank you for being here, brother. We appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got just a few minutes. At 6 minutes after, we're going to come back. Quang Nguyen is going to be here at the top of the hour. And Quang is the state judiciary chairman in Arizona. He's always a lot of fun to talk to. That will be followed by the great Dr. John R. Lott, crimeresearch.org, Crime Prevention Research Center, and author of More Guns, Less Crime. He's got a lot of books, but that's the one he's most widely known for. Armed American Radio's Monstercast will be back at 6 minutes after the hour. Don't jump ship. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Maybe, if we're so inclined, we'll give you a Super Bowl score if you're not paying any attention to it and you're watching us instead. We'll be back at 6 minutes after, guys.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
On the Armed American Radio Network.
Guys, we'll be back at 6 minutes after the hour with Quang Nguyen from Arizona, followed by Dr. John Lott. We'll put some, some stuff up here. Maybe play some music. No, I don't want to play any music. That's no fun, is it? That's no good. We'll play the AAR Rocks and the Dragon for a little bit, and we'll be back at 6 minutes after. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a call after the game when we're off air. I purposely did not invite him on the program today.
Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, I don't hear Gutowski in the lineup. I think I know why.
Yeah, guys, you're hearing us on the live screens. Yeah, well, I really wanted to have Steven on and get his take on the executive order, but he is a dyed-in-the-wool Philly fan, and he's in Philadelphia, downtown Center City today watching the game, so I didn't even bother.
You know, I didn't even know what Steven looked like. Then YouTube decided that I needed to watch one of his videos like a week or so ago, and I watched it, and I was like, not who I expected, but hey, okay.
Yeah, right? Hey, guys, this is a fun shirt. I don't know if you can't see this. Let me pull that screen down for you. But this is an actual Tombstone Marshall, Arizona, authentic shirt. This is pretty cool stuff. I picked it up when I was in Tombstone a while back. Good friend of mine's a deputy. Was over there.
30.
Yeah, and you just heard Greg, 30 seconds. Let's get this party started. Hour 2.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Kahr Firearms Group studio
At the Patriot Mobile Communication Center.
on the SIG Sauer Platinum microphone.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Here we go. Hour 2 begins right now in the Kahr Firearms Group studios. All brought to you by X Insurance. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom on what is now hundreds of radio stations around America. It's Super Bowl Sunday. We don't care. We're here doing what we do. No NFL here in the Armed American Radio Ranch studios in the Patriot Mobile Command Center. This doesn't exist. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing, my brother?
Not too bad. Eagles are up, looking good.
So we said we'd give a score. I'm not paying attention. I think you've got it on in the network there at the mothership, the command center. What's going on?
It's looking good. Eagles are driving down into third quarter. Looks like to me 24-0 Birds. It's looking real good.
24-0 Birds. Well, you can't throw, Patrick Mahomes. I don't watch football anymore, but I'm not stupid. I know who Patrick Mahomes is, folks. And he's unbelievable. Got to watch this kid. He's dangerous in the fourth quarter. I don't know that 24 is enough of a spread, but I'm sure our good friend Stephen Gutowski, CNN contributor and founder of The Reload, is enjoying himself. He's down in Center City. I really wanted him on the program to talk a little bit about the Trump executive order, but no. He's in Philly at the game. He's a dyed-in-the-wool fan, so I'm sure he's having a great time, and hopefully it all works out well for him, and he stays safe down there because Philly, that city, they can go crazy when there's a victory.
It can get spicy.
Or a loss. It doesn't really matter. All right, Greg, so we've got a lot of different ways to watch the program now as we continue to grow. You, ladies and gentlemen, you can watch us, Armed American Radio, Mark Walters, on Rumble. You can watch us at Armed American Radio with Mark Walters on YouTube. You can now watch us on X, and I see a few hundred of you are watching us on X right now. We appreciate that very much. Please repost it, share it, whatever you can do. Feel free to comment down there. We do look at them while we're live on the air. And, Greg, I'll let you tell people where we can. Oh, and by the way, OpsLens, too, by the way. You can watch on your Apple TV. You just need to get the OpsLens app. It's free. Download it, sign into it, and you can watch us on your Apple TV devices. You can watch us on your television sets, Roku, whatever it is. It pushes there, and you can also watch us at armedamericanradio.com. Greg, tell people where to go to get the chat, and then we'll go to our guest, Quang Nguyen from Arizona.
I'm sure if you want to join our live chat, all you have to do is head on over to your app store, grab the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations. Birds up 27-0.
There you go, 27-0 for all you Philly fans. Yay. Quang, welcome to the program, my brother. It's always fun to have you here. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm fine. Thanks, Mark, for having me back. I am so excited about what's happening this year so far with the new president. And actually, I was watching the Super Bowl because I heard that people were going to boo the president, but that's not the case.
Oh, did he get a rousing ovation? I know he was there early. I did see the alert.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was no booing. So I know the Democrats and the liberals are just on Twitter talking about how he's going to be booed, and it just didn't happen.
Please tell me nobody kneeled. Please tell me no one kneeled during the national anthem. Please tell me that.
No one kneeled. But I like the traditional national anthem, and I think it's underwhelming. That's what I'm going to say about the national anthem today.
Yeah, well, a lot of artists tend to do that to the national anthem, and it doesn't age well for them. But I'm with you on that one. I like a traditional national anthem as well. So, Quang, let's talk a little bit about. You talk about the great things happening with Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, Quang is an Arizona state representative, and he is the chairman of the Arizona State Judiciary Committee. So he's out there fighting the fight on your behalf in the state of Arizona. And it almost sounds, like an oxymoron. You're fighting the fight in Arizona for gun rights. I mean, it doesn't, but we have to do that. Okay, we'll go to Arizona briefly. I just wanted to give people a heads up as to who we're actually talking to here, because you are way plugged in with this stuff. You're excited about the administration. Obviously, you're excited about what happened Friday with Trump's executive order on protecting our Second Amendment. Let's talk a little bit about that, and let me get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you know what? The way I look at it is I know the executive order talked about, I know the NRA came out with a statement talking about expanding the Second Amendment, but I've been saying for years, we're not expanding the Second Amendment, 27 words. You can't expand it. What we're trying to do is reclaim what's stolen from us. That's how I see it. And I'm just excited about, the fact that law-abiding citizens can relax just a little bit. And I'm counting for this administration, this president, Pam Bondi, to go all out and make sure that we adjust our litigation position as well for all of the court cases around the nation. I am just excited. On my part in Arizona, the last time you and I spoke, I said the Democrats are planning about 30 anti-gun bills, but so far only 16, and they're all dead across my desk. And so, even 16 is a lot. Now, just imagine this, Mark, for a second, that we don't have a majority with the Democrat governor, and we lose a majority at the House and the Senate. Can you imagine what would be happening to us?
I can. In fact, as I often say on the show, states like New Jersey, I pick on New Jersey because it's so easy to do, and Murphy's so fun to pick on because he's such a dirtbag. But these guys have been attacking our gun rights for so long that positive news about our Second Amendment rights in the state of New Jersey is when only 5 bad bills got to the governor's desk, not the other 8. That's good news in New Jersey, when that's not good news in Arizona. Good news in Arizona is we advance our Second Amendment rights. We get a new positive. Now, there's work going on in Arizona right now. Let's just stay here on Arizona with you. The representative, and forgive me for not having it in front of me, I'm going to be able to pull this up in just a second. But from what I understand, there is a representative in Arizona who has put forth a bill to, machine guns, full auto, to protect and give those rights back to Arizona residents. Am I right on that?
Yeah, so there are a variety of bills out there, and there is Representative Culloden, actually is redefining, what firearms are, so that he included a lot of things, and I'm actually going to hear that bill in my committee, and we want our suppressor, we want our fully auto machine guns. And we want those things. But, Mark, more importantly, I want to go through about 3 bills, good ones and real bad ones. I'm just going to take 30 seconds if you don't mind.
No, go right ahead.
All right. So 3 good things, and these are being worked on by myself and AZCDL. HB 2022, which would establish the Save Our Children school safety program, allowing for the certification and training of school employees to carry firearms on school grounds. under strict regulations. And then we have SB 1020, which prohibits Arizona public university and colleges and community college from banning lawful concealed carry holders from possessing firearms on campus. That's the bill that I carried a couple of years ago, and it didn't go anywhere. And then the another great bill is prohibits financial institution and payment processor from using specific merchant category codes. So basically, it's a banking discrimination against the firearm industry. And then you have three really bad ones. HB 2619 bans assault weapons magazine and require registration. And you've heard that before. And here's a fun one: 2529, duty to retreat
in Arizona.
Arizona, stand your ground.
Oh, come on.
You have to retreat.
Come on.
Somebody knocked down your front door. Mark, you have to run away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's very important to point out when I listen to this nonsense, what's going on. This is the state of Arizona, folks. Now, the Democrats do it here in the state of Georgia every year, every legislative session. We get the same garbage put up, and it goes nowhere. The fact of the matter is, it could, depending on another election cycle or two. It could,
yes,
ladies
sir.
and gentlemen, and that's why we have to fight it. Now, Quang, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to go to an AZ Central piece from, and I want to name this writer here because they're stupid, E.J. Montini, who writes for the Arizona Republic, and it's at azcentral.com. Yeah, is that what it is? Okay. When we come back, I want to go through some of this, ladies and gentlemen, and again, point out to you the way the other side thinks and why you literally cannot stand down. And what Quang just did was give you two prime examples of that. Remind me again, is the governor in Arizona a Republican or a Democrat, Quang?
Oh, flaming Democrat.
Flaming Democrat. How thin is the majority in the Arizona House?
We got 2 seats in the Senate and 3 seats advantage in the House. Not a whole lot.
It's very slim, ladies and gentlemen. That's why it's important. We talk about being a pro-gun state. The overarching point here is, I'll tell you when we come back, but I think you already know what it is. Yeah, it can happen. Just how easy? We'll cover it with Quang when we get back, and we'll make some comparisons. And I want to bring you this AZ Central piece from this, what's this guy's name again? He's a real loser. E.J. Montini. Yeah. We'll be back right after this with Quang Nguyen from Arizona State House. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Taylor Swift being booed at the Super Bowl when they put her on the Jumbotron. It's about time.
Eagles
she
up
got booed.
33-0.
Ah, the wipeout.
Ooh, that was a 50-yard touchdown pass. $34-0. Looks like I might have to buy a hoodie.
This segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Don't forget to use the promo code AAR at MyPillow.com. Welcome back.
Yeah, don't forget to do that. Use that promo code AAR at MyPillow and support Mike. He has supported this broadcast and your gun rights and has fought on behalf of your gun rights for well over 11 years, might even be longer on this program. I've lost count how long we've been with Mike, but you guys do a great job. Support him. He had a tough year. Everybody had a tough year. Mike had one too at MyPillow.com/AAR or MyPillow.com/Armed American Radio. Got a great landing page for us. Get the discount. Just use the AAR promo code. Whatever you see, whenever you see a TV ad, whenever you hear a radio spot, whatever it is, use the AAR promo code. Take advantage of the exact same discount and say, hey, thanks for supporting Armed American Radio and my gun rights. And you can do that with all of our partners, and you can find them all at ArmedAmericanRadio.com, ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Welcome back to the program. It's all being brought to you today by X Insurance here in the Kahr Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters in front of the 6 Sauer Mike with you. And let's go back to Quang Nguyen from Arizona. Quang, great to have you with us. So
thank you, sir.
When I was closing out, the overarching point that I'm making here is that no matter how pro-gun this administration or any administration is going to be, these people are not going to go away. And when there's a shift, and there could be a shift, all right, I have a gut feeling Arizona is going to flip back more red than ever before. Now that you have a lot of conservatives fleeing California coming out that way, I think you're going to see a shift much like what occurred in Florida. But I could be wrong on that. And we've got, as Quang just said, 2 seats in the House, or 3 seats in the Senate, 2 seats in the Senate and 3 in the House, and a Democrat governor who would sign these bills, ladies and gentlemen. She would sign these anti-gun measures. And to roll back what we fought so hard for. And that's where I want to go, Quang, with this Arizona Central piece. Gun-friendly Arizona lawmaker unwittingly makes the case for gun control. Well, this is interesting because it's one of the biggest stretches from an anti-gun goober that I've ever seen. I'll quote some of this. Mm-hmm. Those who work tirelessly for common sense firearms reforms, that means gun control, ladies and gentlemen, should send flowers and thank you notes to Arizona State Rep. Alexander Collin, who you just mentioned, Quang. In an effort to reinforce the notion that the Second Amendment to the Constitution is sacrosanct, permitting no restrictions whatsoever on firearms, Collin has proved just the opposite. Bless his heart. Now, if you live down south, you know that is not a term of endearment. So he's being a smartass. Well, we're going to bury him. Because what he says is that, you see, Congress passed the National Firearms Act, which restricted availability of machine guns and other weapons back in 1934. And nobody came for people's guns. They expanded the scope of that law with the Gun Control Act of 1968, and nobody came for people's guns. Then Congress passed the Firearms Owners Protection Act in 1986, and nobody came for people's guns. Except this guy is absolutely dead on, my cousin Vinny word, wrong, because they have been coming for our guns every single day. And the only reason they don't have them is because of people like you standing in the way, programs like this educating people, organizations like the National Rifle Association, the Second Amendment Foundation, every states' rights, AZCDL. You have a great group. I'm a life member of that organization in Arizona. If we did not exist, they'd have already taken our guns. They're trying to take them in Colorado. We talked about them trying to take them in New Mexico in the previous hour with AWR Hawkins. They're always trying to take them in Jersey and California. They're adding new guns to the can't have here in California list every single day. They're trying to ban your assault weapons, which is a semi-automatic rifle, the most popular one in the country, in Washington State and every other blue state in the nation. So this guy's full of a load of crap, and you can thank shows like this. You can thank you for fighting on behalf of our gun rights. Had it not been for all of us, they would absolutely have our guns. Yes, they are coming for people's guns. This guy's a clown. Your comments, because, well, he doesn't like Collin and Collin's new bill that expands the Second Amendment, when all it does is give us our rights that were taken back.
Yes, correct. And Mark, to be fair to me, it's about time Collin takes some heat outside of me, because they got tired of beating me up every single day, every single week, and I'm sort of like Mr. Teflon, and so now they have to go find somebody else to beat up. And that's okay.
Right.
We need people like Collin. We need people like my seatmate and the rest of the Republican caucus to stand up and fight. Yeah. What I really enjoy about working in Arizona is the fact that leadership is standing strong behind me. You really can't do any of these things. So when I went to Speaker Montenegro, and by the way, I want to talk about this guy. There's a reason why I don't read The Repugnant. You're way ahead of me. You're actually reading stuff that I really don't care for anyway, Mark. I appreciate you for doing that.
I have to, Quang. I have to. It comes with the territory, sadly.
Exactly. And so when I I went to Speaker Montenegro last week, and I said, could you make sure all the anti-gun bills cross my desk? And he immediately looked at me. He looked at me and he said, the chairman has spoken. That's his attitude. Yeah. So he gave me all the anti-gun bills, and I take them all out. And just a week ago, we had a couple of people that wanted me to entertain a red flag law. And you know how you kind of keep your friends close, you keep your enemies a little closer. Mm-hmm. So I had them in my office, and we talked about it. And they're talking about confiscating guns before kids, get the gun to school, start shooting up the place. And I said, well, this is kind of funny, because every time we introduce gun education in school, you guys all voted against it. Not only you vote against it, but you demonize and vilify us and lie about our gun education program. For example, I'll give you an example, Mark. Representative Nguyen would like to bring guns in to show children how to shoot.
Right.
Now, you couldn't be any further. You look at the Eddie Eagle program, which part of that would bring a gun in, and they make up lies, and they do this kind of stuff, and they're trying to demonize me, and I'm like Mr. Teflon, right? And so they stop picking on me, and they got to go somewhere else. But they are as crazy as you suspect. They're beyond crazy. And when I look at these 16 gun bills, I don't even know how you can come up with 16 gun bills, anti-gun bills. But that's just the way it is. So I think organizations out there like the Second Amendment Foundation, AZCDL, and all these organizations, you need to back us up by saying, hey, we're not crazy. We're just reclaiming what you've stolen from us. And I want to get that message out that we're not bad guys. We love protecting children more so than, look at it. Duty to retreat. You have to retreat. Somebody breaks into your house, you have a gun, you don't have stand your ground anymore, and you're just going to have to go hide in the closet until they're done taking all the stuff out of your house.
That's not going to happen in Arizona. I want to say that's not going to happen in Arizona. But ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say that with 1,000% or 10,000% confidence, but I can't, because you just heard the slim majorities. There's a Democrat in the governor's mansion in Arizona, and there's a 2-seat and 3-seat majority in the House and Senate. So, would you
30.
Tell us? We've got 30 seconds. Would she sign that bill? She would sign that bill.
Oh, in a flash. As a matter of fact, in a flash. And here's the thing. I think, to some extent, you and I had this long conversation about trying to get Republicans to be more educated on these things, because sometimes you have this misplaced compassion for kids, and you say, maybe we ought to hear this bill. That's what I fear.
Yeah.
When somebody asks me, hey, do you want to take a different office to do something? I want to be the chairman here. I want to be in control so that we don't have a mishap of a chair saying,
you're doing. Hey, Quang, I have to.
Take care of the kid.
I have to stop you. There's a great message to end the call on. Thank you for everything you do. I'll reach out to you this week. We're going to bring you back to the program as soon as possible. Quang Nguyen, Arizona State Rep and Chairman of the Judiciary. We'll be back with John Lott. 4 minutes. Don't go away.
Daniel Defense firearms are guaranteed for life, trusted worldwide, and designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Yeah, Daniel Defense is freedom, passion, and precision, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to check them out. Great partner of Armed American Radio for a long time, DanielDefense.com. Check out their new handgun, too. They've got a pistol over there. You can find it on the website. that is absolutely beautiful. I have fondled it and played with it, but I've never shot it yet. I hope to do that real soon at the facility and report back to you. That would be phenomenal. And I do get to put those full auto Mark 5s in my hands when I'm down there, and it's absolutely wonderful to shoot. And frankly, I should be able to take one home. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. Still can't figure out why we can't. But we're working on it, little by little. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues. Bottom half of hour 2 now, rolling forward here in the Kahr Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters in front of the SIG Sauer mic. All being brought to you by X Insurance at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. Please go out of your way to visit all of our partners. You can find them all on the sponsor page at armedamericanradio.com. Click on them and see all the cool stuff that they have. And many of them, most of them, have been with us for a lot of years. We love them back, because they love you too. All of them you can find at armedamericanradio.com or .org, whatever one floats your boat. John Lott, crimeresearch.org, joins us now. Dr. Lott, pleasure to have you here. How are you, my friend?
Doing great. Great to talk to you again. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure. John, big news coming Friday out of the White House that unfortunately I didn't get to it on my daily show because I didn't see it until afterwards. But we're talking about it now. Boy, I'd love your thoughts on the executive order from Trump protecting our Second Amendment. Give us your thoughts on it.
Right. Well, there was a new CBS YouGov poll that just came out today that showed that 70% of Americans think that Trump is doing what he promised in the campaign. And, that's both people that like Trump and people who dislike Trump both think that he's keeping his campaign promises. And this is just another example of that, because he was pretty clear during the campaign. He's been pretty clear for years what his views are with regard to people being able to own guns. And the executive order requires that Pam Bondi has to go back and review the different executive orders and regulations that came out during the Biden administration and earlier to see what they should get rid of. So a lot of the things like the zero tolerance approach to guns that Biden had, which basically just meant if you make a typo 18 years ago, they're going to reopen cases, even if you've made no other typos in any other forms, and even if the typo was inconsequential, they would use it to go and take away somebody's license to be a firearms dealer. They're going to undo, I presume, the Vanderstock case there, where it's the so-called ghost gun case, where it also involved instances where people could convert a semi-automatic gun to a machine gun to go and ban those guns, which, when they talk about being able to go and convert, how easy it is to convert is kind of in the eye of the beholder. And you could easily have a future administration use that to go and ban all AR-15s or something like that. So there are a lot of things, and I think this is going to make a big difference.
John, you're familiar with the inner workings of the DOJ. This is a tall order to do within 30 days, or is it not?
Well,
for Bondi to report back.
Right. Well, I mean, the first thing that they're going to have to do is to go through and make sure they can identify all the different regulations that have been put out there that weren't, in law. Obviously, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms has issued a lot of regulations over the years. I think you or I, once we listed them out, could probably go through them pretty quickly and say whether they're reasonable or not. I don't know who she's going to have that's going to be overseeing this. But look, I think there's going to be a lot of low-hanging fruit that's going to be easy to go through quickly. A couple that I just mentioned are important. I think the Vanderstock case, I worry that Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts will, if they had to make a decision today, would go with the three Democrats on the Supreme Court and allow that regulation to go forward. And the problem is that in that case, the government, the Biden administration, was arguing how important it was for solving crimes to be able to have these serial numbers on guns. Now, you and I both know that's not true, but the problem is that the lawyer, even though I think overall he did a good job, never touched on that argument, never pointed out that it's a fallacious argument. And we've seen this time after time. Judges, even if they think a law is wrong, they don't want to do something that they think is going to harm people's safety. And I think too many lawyers on the side of self-defense just think that they just only need to argue the constitutional aspects of it and not kind of deal with these fears. I'm not saying going and spending half of your brief on it, but just even having a sentence or something in your brief, I think that just because, look, there's a reason why the government, in this case, spent a huge percentage of their brief on the safety aspects of this. That's what they do all the time. That's often the only thing that they can do. Now, you and I know that they're wrong in terms of the safety arguments. And again, I'm not saying that our side needs to put as much effort into rebutting them as they put into making these charges. But I think you have to deal at least somewhat with the comfort level that the judges have, to at least let them know that, look, there are at least real questions about whether the government is accurately portraying the safety issues here.
Yeah, you've given us a lot to unpack. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have enough time to get into too much of it. I want to go back to ATF right now because a lot of their rules, you mentioned the Vanderstock. I want to focus on the FFLs because this has really gotten in my craw for a long time. The ATF FFL revocations that John referred to, ladies and gentlemen, saw a up to 700% increase on that zero tolerance policy. And as he said, you're talking about literally misspelling or putting if you're familiar, if you've ever bought a firearm, you filled out a 4473, that's known as the NICS check or the background check that you hear about. That is required every time you buy a gun from a federally licensed dealer. And in many cases, somebody put the state name where the county was supposed to go, for example. And you had businesses that had been around for 2 and 3 generations that were wiped off the map. John, do you think any of these FFLs will be made whole after this? That they'll get their licenses back because they were wrongfully terminated to begin with, and maybe some taxpayer funds, which I wouldn't mind using to go back and give some payback to these people who've lost everything because of this zero tolerance policy?
Do I think there'll be people who get their licenses back? Yeah, I think there'll be people who get their licenses back. The problem is that, as you're indicating, that when your business has been put out of business for 3 or 4 years or whatever, you just don't start up right away. You've had real losses. You've had inventory. I mean, most businesses kind of have loans to cover the inventories that they have. They probably had to close up shop because at some point they just didn't keep paying the rent or the employee salaries that were there. My guess is a lot of these guys aren't going to come back. And the idea that the government, look, I would have no problem with the government going and paying damages for the harm that they created. But you're going to have legislation to do that. That's not something that the Department of Justice is going to be able to go and do on its own.
Yeah, that's going to be. And John, we're getting ready to take a break, so hold on to that. We'll pick up with that when we come back, because that is, I wouldn't mind seeing my dollars and your dollars as well, ladies and gentlemen, making some of these people who were so screwed wrongly by the ATF, the Biden administration, and the anti-gunners be made whole. I wouldn't mind that at all. In fact, I would encourage any congressman listening to work on something like that. Big shout out to Arizona's Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 12. They're watching. We'll be back.
Looks like 37-0. start playing that when he comes on.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back.
Yeah, do that over at Patriot Mobile. As I said, this is a Patriot Mobile phone if you're watching me on all your devices. A couple hundred of you watching over on Twitter. We're also available for you on Rumble Live, YouTube Live. Still working on Facebook. Thought we had that ironed out today, but apparently Facebook didn't like what the production crew did. So we'll get to fixing that again for you. You can also watch us on your devices, your Apple TV boxes, whatever you got. Kids like to watch the show on there. That's always kind of fun. You need the OpsLens app to do that. Just download OpsLens, OPSLENS, and sign in there. It's free to do. No, it doesn't cost you anything, and you can watch on your devices, your television sets. You can watch us on Roku and all that fun stuff. So we're everywhere there for you. You can also watch us on ArmedAmericanRadio.com, ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Please support all of our partners. Welcome back to the Kahr Firearms Group Studios. Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom. We're talking with Dr. John Lott. And all of these conversations, ladies and gentlemen, are brought to you by the great X Insurance here at the Patriot Mobile Communications Center. We love those guys. John, welcome back to the program. So just to recap what we were talking about, I personally would like to see the FFLs made whole. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Like you said, it would require an act of Congress to do that. But I can certainly see somebody like Eli Crane or Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody putting a bill forth that would do that when it all comes out, what the ATF was doing. Now, we report it here, but most Americans are clueless about what's been going on.
Yeah,
most
I
are.
agree. I mean, Biden, when he sold the zero tolerance program, for example, he talked about rogue gun dealers selling guns out of the back of their store to criminals. Well, if they have evidence of that, put the guys out of business. But that's not what they were going after. They're going after people who made typos, trivial typos. And as I've told you before, what I think they ought to do is have a rule that you don't have to go back 18 or 20 years, but any government agency, let's say in the last 6 months, that's made any type of paperwork error there, we put the government agency out of business. I think you'd save a lot of money and reduce spending a lot by doing that. There may not be any government agencies left after that, but it's just crazy type rules that they have there. But and there are other regulations beyond the ghost gun, beyond the zero tolerance. You have the Biden administration going and essentially putting out rules that would define virtually all gun dealers all gun owners as gun dealers.
Right.
And so they're doing this for their universal background check stuff, but it just would be a real mess because it's going to make it so that you're going to have you're going to make it very costly for people to own guns. The irony is at the same time that you have this zero tolerance policy putting gun dealers out of business, the Biden administration wanted to define essentially everybody as a gun dealer. So, one can only imagine the type of catch-22 that would put a lot of people in.
Yeah, it was going to put a lot of people in trouble as well. And that was going after if you sell more than one gun, or if I'm not mistaken, at some point it was if you sell any gun. You sell one gun.
And even, it's even possible that just selling one gun would do that. And part of the problem with the rules were that they were vague. It was kind of like it would be in the eye of the government agent whether or not he thought that you should be classified as that, which is incredibly unfair. But, they basically would have it so that you sell one gun and keep up paperwork on how much you sold it for. You sell one gun and even talk to somebody else about selling another gun. All those things could result in you being classified as a firearms dealer. And if you didn't go and get the proper licensing when you sold a gun, you could be criminally liable.
Yeah, as in felon, ladies and gentlemen. Very serious, very serious business that the Biden administration. So, when you hear that they're not coming after your gun, they are coming after your guns, and they're not going to stop. Again, I repeat, they're coming to the state now. They're going to push very, very hard, particularly in very friendly states. But as you heard Quang Nguyen, Quang Nguyen, the House Judiciary chairman in Arizona, the great state of Arizona, very gun-friendly state, reminded us there's only a 2-seat majority Republican in the Senate and 3 in the House in Arizona, and they have a Democrat governor. And 16 anti-gun bills were already moving. He stopped them as the Judiciary chairman, but it is a reminder that these people are not going away. So having said that, when you look at the executive order that Trump signed, how do you see this play out in the long run? Or let me ask it this way. Is there anything in there that concerns you? And what do you think is going to happen now as they begin to focus on the states? We look at what's going on in Colorado. AWR is reporting a semi-auto ban, Grisham is pushing in the state of New Mexico. None of this is going to stop. Are they going to double, triple, and quadruple down like I think they're going to do at the state level now because they don't feel so friendly, obviously, at the federal level?
Well, a lot's going to depend on judges. I mean, it's something you and I have talked a lot about over the years. At the end of the Biden administration, the Democrats had about over two-thirds of the circuit and district court judges. And we see this right now in terms of all these judges issuing rulings that, are trying to tie up Trump's thing to get rid of waste in the government. So you go to these sympathetic Democratic judges and they make it, they just make rulings that eventually will be overturned and rulings that in many ways are illogical. But, their part of their goal is just to delay as long as possible. But it's not just, the immigration cases. It's not just, the efficiency stuff. I mean, they just had this ruling that essentially prevents Treasury employees from being able to go through and look at the payments. I mean, we have this amazing situation where over at least the last 20 years, there's not one payment by the Treasury Department that was stopped for concerns about fraud or going to terrorists, even though that's the law and they're supposed to look at that. We have Social Security payments. Apparently, it just came out that $50 billion was going to people who don't have a Social Security number and didn't have a valid ID. We have a lot more money that's apparently going to people that where you have multiple people having the same Social Security number.
Yeah.
If you have 30 people that have the same Social Security number, you would think, you're not going to send a check to all 30 different people. You're going to go and investigate that. But unfortunately, past administrations have done that. So the irony is at the same time Social Security is going broke, we have huge amounts of money going out for fraud. Social Security would be a lot more solvent if we didn't have this type of fraud going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your money we're talking about here. And when they're done with this, it is really going to be remarkable, ladies and gentlemen, to watch the Democrats continue to kick, scream, and cry as they kick sand in your face on their way out of the sandbox because their gravy train has been outed and cut off. Dr. Lott, thank you for being here, my friend. It's always a pleasure. You can find everything John does, all of his amazing research, his books, everything at crimeresearch.org, crimeresearch.org. When we come back at 6 minutes after the top of this hour, a classic Armed American Radio Roundtable, and we've got a lot of great stories for you to cover coming up in the next hour. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues at 6 minutes after the hour. Don't go away. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back at 6 after.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
On the Armed American Radio Network.
Guys, we'll be back at 6 minutes after. Take a biology break here. We'll be right back.
American radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Kahr Firearms Group studio
At the Patriot Mobile Communication Center.
on the SIG Sauer Platinum microphone.
Mark, we know they want to take our guns, and now we're going to make them eat it.
Proudly presented to you by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Here we go, round 3, Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continuing. Now, if you're just joining the program, welcome aboard. If you're rejoining the program, welcome back. It's great to have you here. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom here in the Kahr Firearms Group studio. It's got a really cool Kahr hat on, too, by the way. Very cool hat. We've got a bunch of cool hats from Kahr Arms. You can check them out and pick up a hat, too, over at the Tommy Gun Warehouse, by the way, just if you're so inclined. Welcome back, guys. 6 Sauer microphone fired up for you here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. X Insurance presenting it all. Greg in Dallas, Texas, you want to give an update on the game because we're not really paying much attention to it here?
Sure. If you're watching not watching the Eagles game, we've got Eagles up 40-14, and they just dumped Gatorade on the coach.
So I guess it's over?
I would say it's pretty much over. The TV's too far away for me to see how much time is still left, and my eyes are just getting bad, so it is what it is.
Well, I have some Gatorade here. I'm not going to dump it all over myself, but I'm going to take a swig of it while you tell
looks
people
like
where to...
the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be the national champions.
All right. Well, good for them and good for our good friend Stephen Gutowski, founder of The Reload and CNN contributor, who is in Center City, Philadelphia right now.
Yeah.
He's from Philly, and I hope he's having a great time. I'm sure he is. Hopefully he told CNN, not tonight. Don't call me tonight. I don't want anything to do with you tonight. All right.
You know, it's real quick. It's funny about sports how people. I don't have real affinity for teams. I've watched the Eagles for decades. I don't expect to check tonight, which is why I don't get happy when they win anything. It's just like, okay, cool, they won. It's been a long time.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of women around the country that, get worried when their husband's team loses. People take this stuff serious, man. It's ridiculous. And yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I walked away from it years ago, and I never looked back. I got my Sundays back, my Saturdays back during the playoffs, Thursdays, Mondays, and I never missed it. I never missed it at all. I thought, man, I've been wasting a lot of money and a lot of time. That's just me. But I love football. I grew up watching football. I just couldn't stand the wokeness. I understand they played 2 versions of a national anthem tonight. See, I don't do that. Well, there's one national anthem. I mean, that's just me.
Allegedly, the Black National Anthem aired early before the game got started, and then from what I've seen, the halftime show was pretty pro-America. So I don't know. Maybe there was something in there I missed. Of course, I was running the show, so I didn't get to watch too much of it. But
well, Trump was in the house too, so there's that. And I hope to God Taylor Swift wasn't all over national television tonight. So
I think she got booed once.
Oh, only got booed once. Okay, well, that's good to know. All right, Greg, would you tell, because ladies and gentlemen, I'll run through this with you real quick. You can get us on the Telegram messaging app and search for Armed American Radio Conversations. And you can now watch us on multiple platforms. We're streaming on X. A few hundred people are watching us over there. We appreciate it. You can watch us now on Rumble. If you want to watch us on X, it's at AAR Mark. Please do that. By the way, we only need one Twitter follower to get to 13,000. So if you're so inclined, you'll be the 13,000th follower over there. They knocked us down by thousands, and it's rebuilding, thankfully. But nonetheless, if you want to be that 13,000th Twitter follower at AAR Mark, go ahead and click that follow button, and that'll do it. Repost it. You can watch us on Rumble Live at Armed American Radio and Mark Walters, and you can watch us on YouTube Live right now at Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. And Facebook's still not working yet, but you can also catch us on armedamericanradio.com or .org and click Watch Live if you want to do that. Just don't do it while you're driving. It is a radio show after all, so just tune into us and listen to the program and be safe. Don't watch us while you're doing something very important like driving. Greg, we got the whole crew here?
Yeah, everybody's here.
Oh, let's start. Neil McCabe, who's famously losing his Boston accent from RedState.com, RedState.com. How you doing, Neil?
Mark, I'm doing fantastic, and I'm very excited about what's happening in Washington, D.C., and I'm very excited that as the administration fills up, we're going to go after all of the, not just the sins and crimes of the last 4 years, but the sins and crimes for the last 8 years, the last 20 years, the last 100 years.
It's all coming out, Neil. It's all coming out.
It's all coming around, Mac.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Brad Premo, CEO, Lead Slingers Whiskey, fan favorite for a reason. We love you, Brad. How you doing? Welcome in, brother.
Man, I'm doing great, Mark. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. How was the queso and the smoked baked beans on the egg you were cooking on today? Because I saw the pictures and it looked, so tasty.
I don't think I can possibly eat anymore without being ashamed of myself, so it turned out pretty good.
That's okay. That's okay once in a while, and there's a drug you can get on for that if you're really so inclined. And Justin Moon, CEO of Firearms, how you doing, brother? Always fun to have you here, Justin. How are you, man?
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start with you because we got you here. I just said hello to you. So let's start with you. You know, Trump signed the executive order protecting our Second Amendment. I want your thoughts. How are you feeling?
I think it's amazing. We elected President Trump for a reason. You know, a lot of people were worried about his choice of Pat Bondi, but it's clear that President Trump is making the policy. So God bless Trump.
Well, you are right about the Pam Bondi. That's been a topic of conversation on the show since her nomination. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to the program, it's because she famously supported a couple measures that came out of the Parkland tragedy. One of those in Florida, she supported vocally the red flag law in Florida when they didn't need it. They already had the Baker Act in Florida, so it was all political theater. And, of course, the wiping out the gun rights of 18 to 21-year-olds, 18 to 20-year-olds in the state of Florida. And she supported that and made that very clear. And there was a lot of trepidation about Bondi, and I agree with you, Justin. I think this puts it to bed for the most part. For the most part, we're not going to say 100%, but Neil, as Alan Gottlieb mentioned in the first hour regarding Bondi and this executive order, he said she's probably 80 or 90% pro-gun. And my response was, if it's 80, then the other 20% was overridden by Donald Trump and the strength of his support for the Second Amendment. If it was 90%, 10% left with her was overridden because Trump is clearly calling the shots here. Do you have any fear of Bondi, and what are your thoughts on the executive order?
No, I don't have any concerns about Bondi whatsoever. People have to remember that, like Ohio, Florida is an Obama, Trump state. And so the politics were different 15 years ago in Florida. And there was a lot of gun panic after the Trayvon Martin thing, after Parkland, and so Florida politicians were in a different environment. They were responding to different signals. Bondi is responding to one signal and one master, and that is Donald Trump, and I'm fine.
Brad Premo.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, the way I'm seeing this administration shaken out so far is that Donald Trump is the chief executive. And, man, he knows how to be a chief executive. And the people he's putting in place, they clearly have their marching orders. And the people he has selected are capable and smart people, but they also recognize who's the boss, and they understand they have a mission. And that's the important part. So whatever doubts you have about Bondi, I get it, like we talked about. She clearly has got her marching orders, and she's expected to toe the line. And I have a feeling that anybody in this administration who does not toe the line is going to find themselves out on the street, locked out and fired. You're
right. They're going to be out the door, and I'm very confident that Bondi is aware of that, and the rest of them. No question about it. Justin, when I look at what's happening with the Second Amendment now, I think it's really important that we remind people now that we're on offense. Okay, we have been on defense, Justin, for so many years. Now, I mentioned this to Mr. Gottlieb, and he said, well, I think we do know how to play offense. And he does. He does. Collectively, a lot of us don't. And by that, I mean a lot of gun owners, the industry we've thrived off of fear. They're coming to take our guns. They're coming to take our guns. And they were coming to take our guns, Justin. Now what we need to do is flip that script in an opportunity that we have right now that we have never had before like this, that says, you know what? Let's put the boot on the gun control movement neck now. And that's where we have to reframe our going forward, and our fight going forward is to restore it and put an end to the nonsense that we have suffered through for all of these years. Would you agree with that?
I think we have to go a step further. I mean, I always knew our government was corrupt, but seeing the corruption in USAID and how much money is being stolen, it's unbelievable. it's on. We probably have $1 trillion a year being stolen by these Democrats in government. I mean, that's like insane.
And they're fighting the effort to fix the problem. So ask yourself as we go to the break, ladies and gentlemen, why? Why would they not want to root out corruption? Because they're a part of the corruption. Their gravy train that they've been sucking off of all of these years is coming to a head. Wait till they find out what's been going on at the Pentagon and others. Oh, it's just so fun to watch. It really, truly is fun to watch. It's a great time to be alive. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues with the group, Brad, Neil, and Justin, right after this break. We'll be back in 4 minutes.
.22 game with, I'm guessing, less than a minute because I only see 2 digits in that column.
All right.
And the Eagles have the ball. They're just kneeling it.
Oh, yeah. Well, being at Jimmy's Cheesesteaks on 4th and South would be a lot of fun today. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
much.
that appears to be game. Eagles win it.
All right. There you got it, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been watching the show and not paying attention to the game and you were so inclined, what was the score? 40-22 Eagles?
40-22, yep.
All right.
Go Birds.
Yeah, Travis Kelce said go Birds. I saw in an interview somewhere on a podcast.
Well, who knows?
His brother played for him or something. I don't follow it. I don't know.
Yes. His brother played for the I think 18 Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, maybe Philly's mayor can stand up today and play and yell out the Eagles chant. E-G-L-A-E-S.
Yeah.
Eagles.
E-L-G-L-A-S. Eagles.
All right. Well, good for Steven Gutowski. I can't wait to talk to him. Guys, if you're watching during the break here, a lot of you are. I'll be on Cam and Company tomorrow. We'll be taping that tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern. It'll be out later in the day. Be there with Cam Edwards. We'll be talking about the executive order and whatever else Cam wants to talk about. It's always fun to be on Cam and Company. And we do, whenever schedules work, we do Mondays with Mark on Cam and Company. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. And I expect I'll probably be on 97.1 FM with Mark Cox in the morning on 2A Tuesday coming up. We usually do that about every couple weeks. And I think with this executive order, we'll likely be chatting about that this Tuesday as well. So if you've never listened to Mark Cox in the morning, I would highly recommend it. He's got a dynamite morning show, biggest, most listened to drive show in the Midwest on 97.1 FM in St. Louis. So make sure to check that out, 97.1 FM. Mark Cox, M-A-R-C, if you want to search it. Cox, C-O-X, and enjoy it. We always have a great time together. We'll be right back with you guys. Couple minutes.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
Okay, welcome back. Segment 2, Armed American Radio Classic Roundtable begins right now with the group. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today here in the Kahr Firearms Group studios on this powerful SIG Sauer Platinum microphone, all being brought to you by X Insurance from the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. And we, of course, are being heard on hundreds of radio stations around the nation, and you can watch the program on various venues, so we would hope that you would enjoy doing that. Many of you are. Thanks for that. Welcome back to the program. So, Greg, I guess the game's over, 40-22. Eagles victorious. Stephen Gutowski's partying in Center City right now, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. It's wrapped up. I'm sure the streets of Philly are going crazy right about now. They're just having post-game interviews.
All right, hopefully safe crazy. Philly is a crazy town. I know firsthand.
It could go either way.
I've been to games at the Vet there back in the day at the Vet, and I've sat in that 700 section. And ladies and gentlemen, if you know, you know. Okay? It was a rough place to go watch a game if you were. I was living in Philly, so I was always sporting the Eagles stuff, but whew, good heavens. That was a long time ago, but nonetheless, congratulations to them.
Not as rough as being an Eagles fan in North Texas.
Probably. I would be careful walking around with Eagles garb there, too. But anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about here with the group. I forget, who did I leave off with? Greg, do you recall?
I got no idea.
Okay, well, Neil, I'm just going to go to you, and we'll spin it around. We'll spin it around, Neil. I'm going to go to you. I'll let you put an exclamation point on what we were talking about in the previous segment, and then I'm going to tell you a story about what's coming out of Michigan that I really want to have this conversation with you guys. I can't wait to hear it. And, Greg, I want you to jump in on this one as well, because this is something that's been, something you've been passionate about over the many years that we've been doing the show together as well. Neil, welcome back in. I'll start with you. Any exclamation points before I move to the Michigan story, or you want me to move on?
No, I just want to make the point that the Biden ATF, one of the things, when they said zero tolerance, what happened is the ATF would traditionally judge things as negligent mistakes or willful mistakes or errors, right?
Yeah.
And so not only was there a significant uptick in inspections of records and everything else, simple clerical errors, were treated as willful. So there's no such thing as a negligent mistake. And so in 21, you had 5 people lose their license. In 22, there were 88 licenses pulled.
Mm-hmm.
In 23, there were 157 licenses pulled. And in 24, there were 79 licenses pulled. Now, some of that is the fact that I'm guessing that they probably tapped the brakes in the last 2 years, but there was political pressure from Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and other people. So once ATF realized people were watching, but at the same time, this was a deliberate effort to crush an industry.
Sure it was.
And I'm not talking about the chains. I'm talking about like mom and pops.
Yeah.
Like literally one guy in one store and just crushing these guys. And it's absolutely horrible, because as a practical matter, in a lot of small towns and a lot of counties in this country, it's not like the guys nearby, right? So it's a difference between somebody being 5 miles away and 30 miles away, Mark.
Yeah, it was brutal what was happening. It was criminal. It was treasonous what was happening. And guess what, folks? Apparently, it all ends now. Brad, let me take you to Michigan. This is a fascinating topic of conversation. We've had it before, but it's been a while. Let me read you the headline, then I'll give you a little bit of the dope here. Bay County, Michigan man shoots at possible home invader, faces felony due to prior record. Hearing a clamor in the middle of the night, a Hampton Township man confronted an apparent intruder breaking into his family's apartment. He fired several rounds from his pregnant wife's gun and seemingly scared off the trespasser, but is now facing a criminal charge that could land him in prison. The reason? He has a prior record prohibiting him from using guns. He has a prior felony. He is 26 years old and is now charged with 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm. Brad, does the man not have the right to defend himself and his family from an intruder, regardless of his past, when their lives are on the line? Let's have this conversation.
I think those felon in possession of firearms laws are unconstitutional, personally. I mean, if you have been convicted and you've paid your debt to society and you're free and clear, if we can trust you to now be a part of society, then you should be trusted to have a firearm as well. And that just goes to show you the fact that we're trying to put this guy in prison again for defending himself and his family goes to show you that Democrats would rather see you dead than let you have a gun.
Well said. Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Arms, I might add. Justin, this angers me. How do you feel about it?
I feel the same way, Mark. I mean, if you paid your dues to society and you're out of prison, you should have all of your rights restored. I mean, if you're too dangerous to be out of prison,
yes, then you shouldn't be walking around to begin with. And Neil, go ahead, Justin. I'm sorry.
No, you're absolutely right, Mark. I mean, if you paid your dues, you should get all your rights. And this is America. This is not communist China. So we want to be a country of free people and free men.
Yeah, Neil, when your life is on the line or your family is threatened, I don't care what status your previous convictions have. Don't you have a right to defend your family under those circumstances?
Yeah, 1,000%. And John Lott makes this point all the time that the people who we ban, these felons, right, who we ban from firearm ownership, are often the people living in neighborhoods or in circumstances where they actually need to defend themselves. And we're basically, you give them a choice, right, where you're telling people who might want these people harmed, right? You're saying, well, if they aren't, they're legally disarmed, right, which makes them a target. And then if they are armed, then they're a target from law enforcement. I go through the press releases for the Department of Justice constantly as I'm just looking through news to see what's going on. And over and over and over again, you have traffic stops where the guy's a felon, they find a bullet, they find a gun, and then the guy is gone for 5 years of his life. It is insane what we're doing to these people. How are they supposed to rebuild their lives if they get out of prison and they can't defend themselves and their families? It's horrible.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
I agree with everything that's been said already.
I'd like that.
Yeah, Greg, I want to go to you now because this is a conversation that you and I have had off air and on air many times. And I know how you feel about this. And I know you know FCC rules because you were working at the network and running the show and producing it. But I'm going to turn it over to you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, sure, because I know we're short on time here. This is why I like to make a big deal about every time I hear somebody say law-abiding Americans, law-abiding gun owners. These people, are oftentimes just trying to defend their lives, just trying to defend their families' lives. And this is why I say the caveat for law-abiding should be ignored by our community. We should not use it. We should not use it as a caveat to liberty because ex-offenders can also be living a life to where they need to defend their families as well.
It's a human right, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope the public outcry, if you're listening in Michigan, you need to be writing and calling right now because this kid should not be prosecuted for defending himself, his pregnant wife, and his family from a scumbag. We'll be right back after this 4-minute break. Don't go away. Guys, I want to make a prediction on this Michigan case. I don't like the headline surf, but sometimes we have to because the headline is sometimes so misleading. It's not misleading in this case, but there's Greg was just talking during the break and the mics were off, so I wanted to bring it to you during the break. But there is, there's more to this story here. We're going to cover this when we come back, but I'll give you guys the sausage in between the breaks because you're here and we appreciate it. His defense attorney, his guy's name is Patrick J. Howell. He's 26. He's charged with 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm. Charge is punishable by, as you heard Neil say, 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. His defense attorney is disturbed, I'm quoting, by the charge and argues it shouldn't have been filed. This case is clearly self-defense. It tells the community you can't protect yourself from an intruder if you have a criminal history. Now, the Bay County prosecutor's name, Michael P. Kazanowski, countered the available evidence, supports the charge, though he's not opposed to dismissing it, Greg.
Huh.
So my guess as to what's going to happen here, I'll give when we come back, but I think it's pretty clear what is eventually going to happen here. I hope I'm right. And the other issue is, I don't care what his previous crimes were. That does not negate the fact he has a right to defend himself from an intruder breaking into his home and protecting his wife and his family. That's simple. If just for their sake. So there's a lot going on here, but we'll make a prediction when we come back just for fun.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back.
Yeah, Patriot Mobile, ladies and gentlemen. You too can use one. patriotmobile.com/Armed American Radio, patriotmobile.com/AAR. Check out the landing page. Get free activation over there when you use the AAR promo code at that page. Great company that supports you and everything you believe in. Great American company. Patriotic, it's in the name. Patriot Mobile. These people are the real deal. They've been on the show before. They'll be back on. Scott Coburn will come back with us probably in the next couple weeks. We missed him at SHOT Show, so we want to bring him back to the program. Talk a little bit about what went on there with him and his crew at Patriot Mobile. You can find all of our partners, including North American Arms. You can find Heaven's Harvest. You can find Bud's Gun Shop. You can find Kahr Arms. You can find them all. You can find Lead Slingers Whiskey. You can find all of them, including Barrel Buddy, at the armedamericanradio.com or .org webpage, whichever one floats your boat. Have at it. Click on them and support these businesses that have supported this program now on the nation's airwaves on hundreds of radio stations and all of these various platforms on camera for you for the last 16 years. April 26th will be our 16th anniversary. So we're very, very proud of that. A very influential program over the years. It's grown because of them and because of you supporting them. Please continue to do so. Guys, I got to stay on this. Brad, I'm going to flip it over to you. I want to stay on this this felon here because there's more to this story, and I want you guys to hear it. It's certainly not going to change your answers. I think it will only strengthen them, but there's a little bit more going on here, and this is fascinating. So it turns out this 26-year-old kid is now charged with 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm. The charge is punishable, you heard Neil say, by up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. His defense attorney is disturbed by the charge and argues, quote, it shouldn't have been filed. This case is clearly self-defense. It tells the community you can't protect yourself from an intruder if you have a criminal history. Now, the prosecutor in this case, a gentleman by the name of Michael P. Kazanuski, countered the available evidence supports the charge, though he's not opposed to dismissing it. Here's what happened. At 1 a.m. on January 20th, there was response to reported gunfire at the Tradewinds Apartments. Dispatchers advised a resident had called 911 to report an intruder breaking into their apartment. Holloway emerged from his apartment with his hands raised when officers arrived, saying someone had tried entering his unit through a window. And here's the quote from the kid. I was protecting my family, and I shot the person trying to get into my apartment. That's what he told cops. He said he fired 3 times and believed he hit the intruder, adding the gun was inside the house. Holloway agreed to continue speaking with officers after they read him his Miranda rights. He told them he was in bed when his pregnant 29-year-old wife heard a loud noise. He got up and shouted at the intruder to leave as his wife retrieved her 9mm Smith & Wesson. He then asked his wife if she could, quote, put someone down, then took the gun from her, peeked outside and shouted to the intruder that he had a gun. He then walked out the back door, pointed the gun at the person who told him he was trespassing and fired once. The male intruder then came at Holloway and he fired 2 more shots. So now it's a little bit more interesting here, Brad, and it gets clearer. My prediction is these charges eventually go bye-bye, but I do want to hear your thoughts on hearing a little bit more about this. It just reinforces what we're talking about, does it not?
Sure. I mean, it still sounds like, self-defense to me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and also add to anybody out there listening, if you are involved in a self-defense shooting, you do not make any statements to the cops without a lawyer present beyond, I was defending myself and I did what I had to do. You say anything more than that to the cops, they're not your friends in that situation. Keep your dang mouth shut until you have an attorney.
Now, Brad, how do you know to give that advice? Would you tell our listeners?
Because I was a police officer. And so, and plus, I have a lot of good friends that are attorneys. I have an attorney in my family. I've spent a lot of time studying this kind of stuff and being involved in this type of thing. And it's not that the police are not good guys. I mean, a lot of them are, but they have a job to do. And anytime they have a cold body on the ground and somebody has shot them, they're looking to find out if somebody did something wrong. And they're approaching the situation or the mindset of, we have a homicide, we got to find somebody responsible. And you're not going to make any friends. They're not your friends at that point. You need somebody there that's going to protect your rights and give you good advice. And you don't need, the thing is to be legal, you don't have to say a whole lot. You don't have to prove anything. The only thing that matters is this person was breaking into that man's house and he defended himself and his family. He felt his life was in danger. That's all that matters. He doesn't need to say anything else.
Yeah, and we could further break this down by, if the threat is no longer at the window, is outside, should you go outside, this type of thing. Those are tactical decisions, and that's a tactical discussion that we don't have time to have here today. But it is a fascinating one, no doubt, and we would get just a slew of different opinions on that. But nonetheless, the prosecutor said he is not opposed to dismissing it. Justin Moon, again, this strengthens and reinforces what we were just talking about. And I'm going to predict that these charges probably are dropped. What would you say?
Well, I certainly hope that they are dropped. But Brad made a very good point. If you're involved in the shooting, just say you're in fear for your life and you defended yourself and nothing else. Because, your memory of the situation can change as you settle down. Because you've been hyped up on adrenaline and you've been in a very emotionally agitated state in that self-defense situation. So when you have time to think about what happened, your actual recollection may differ, and you don't want to be locked into what statements you made under mental duress.
Yeah, and now you've got a problem on your hands because you're speaking without an attorney that's there to support you and the statements or retract anything that you might have said. It's too late at that point, and I would highly recommend you take Brad's advice. He knows a little bit about what he's talking about there. Neil McCabe, again, just to come to you to put an exclamation point on this, your thoughts after digging a little bit deeper into that.
You would remember the name of the guest. I forget, but you had a brilliant guest on once who talked about different legal things to do, legal considerations.
That would be Andrew Branca
I
from Law of
remember one of
Self-Defense, I'm sure, is who you're referring to.
But his advice, one of the things that sticks with me is if something like this happens, you immediately call 911 because it's a recorded line and you give your side of the story. And so you do not, obviously, you can't be forced to take the stand in your own defense, but your lawyer can play that tape as sort of and it's not really subject to cross-examination because it's a contemporary record of just a recording. And so, but like Brad said, you just
I have a quick blurb.
Don't trust the police because the risk of something going wrong is 5 years in jail.
Yeah, not to mention the $5,000, but the $5,000 is a pittance compared to 5 years of your life. Greg, you just yelled at my ear. You want to jump?
Right?
Of course.
Yeah,
Greg, you want to jump in here, please?
Yeah, quickly, just an observation. Everybody has already made some great points. I just wanted to say, and I think I said this to you during the break, I'm surprised that the wife is not facing some kind of a charge of making a firearm available to a felon in this instance, because I can't think of a state, I know this state would do it, that they would be itching just to charge you or your wife for participating in this activity here, to where she took her gun and gave it to him to use to defend the household. And now they've got a felon in charge, in possession of a firearm charge. And now they have a wife who has enabled a felon access to a firearm.
Yeah, that's a sticky issue because I don't know what state law is in Michigan on that. Guys, I think this is going to come up on the Daily Defense this week. This is actually quite fascinating. And maybe we'll cover some of the tactical aspects with it. With a trainer, because there's a lot going on here. But Greg, you're right. I don't know what the law is in Michigan. But remember, guys, as we go to the break, I'll leave you with this. Just something to ponder. He said he took the gun from her. So I can see that being argued, that I didn't give it to him. He took it from me. So, I don't know what Michigan law is relative to her possessing it with a felon, and I don't know the answer to that question. But I am going to assume that she has the right to keep a gun for her own self-protection, regardless of her husband's charges. So it's a fascinating case, no question about it. When we come back, get this, a federal district court judge from Mississippi has ruled that the federal prohibition on machine guns, private ownership of those machine guns, made after 1986, violates Second Amendment protections of the United States Constitution. Well, you're listening to somebody who believes that I should be able to buy one out of a vending machine if I want to. We'll be right back. That's a fascinating conversation, ladies and gentlemen. So expect to hear us talk a little bit about that latter part of the week. In fact, I might even reach out. And, come to think of it, Greg, at the mothership in Salem, at the studio with all the cool bells and whistles and buttons and switches and all that cool stuff going on. I don't think it was Andrew Branca that Neil was referring to, because he mentioned years ago. I believe he might have been referring to Alan Corwin.
That's possible.
Who was talking about, calling 911 on that recorded line. I'm pretty sure that might have been Alan Corwin. And if those of you that might be longtime listeners to the program remember, we used to name a segment after Alan, the Alan Corwin Experience, because it was an experience. But Alan is, I would say, predominantly retired now, so we don't bother him anymore. But we let him get on with his life. But he was a fantastic guest and a brilliant thinker, really, truly a brilliant thinker, and somebody who knew the Constitution inside out. I'll never forget when I showed up at the the Gun Rights Policy Conference years ago, when it was held in Orlando, many years ago. And the hotel, the Hyatt, is in the airport, so it's a great location. Because, number one, it's Orlando. You can get flights in and out to anywhere in the world from that facility. And you didn't have to go off-site. You didn't have to hop a cab. You just walked out your gate into the lobby and right into the lobby of the Hyatt, which was wonderful. And as I did that, I was on my way to my room after I checked in, and I was walking past everything where the GRPC was going to be, just to get a lay of the land. And Alan Corwin comes run up. I hear this behind me. I hear, Mark. I turn around. I said, Alan, how you doing? He said, Jefferson was wrong. Jefferson was wrong. And he starts going off on Thomas Jefferson being wrong. Oh, he was one of a kind, no question about it. And Alan Corwin, you can check him out too. I believe it's Bloomfield Press, and pick up all of his books. Google him, Alan Corwin. He wrote the first book on Arizona gun laws that had ever been written, and then just proceeded to write dozens more books. He's a brilliant thinker. Make sure to check him out. See you in a couple minutes, guys.
Bastion Gorka letting you know that the Desperado Sport Fishing Crew in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and our right to bear arms. Now, back to Mark Walters.
Yeah, back indeed. Welcome back. Final segment of Armed American Radio's Monster Cast. Final segment of this hour. Third hour makes it the final segment of the show. Flies right by, man. You got to buckle in. No question about it. Before we get cracking, I want to thank that person who became the 13,000th member, or follower, I should say, over at AAR Mark on Twitter. Yeah, that's cool stuff. In fact, that's really cool stuff. And let me do this. Here you go. Ooh, pretty cool stuff if you're watching in the background, right? Pretty neat. We don't do that very often, but yeah, thanks for that. And if it is you, hit me up with a direct message, and I'm going to send you some AAR swag just because you're cool. So thank you. I don't know who it was, but if you're listening and you're on Twitter, you likely are listening or watching on Twitter anyway, please do that. Hit me with a direct message on there, and I will be more than happy to send you some really cool AAR swag. So welcome back, guys. Pleasure's mine. One more segment to go. Brad Premo, we're going to kick it over to you, boss, because, again, this is right up your alley, too. This is a conversation that I love to have, and I know Justin does, and I know Neil does as well, so this will be an awful lot of fun. But a federal judge, Brad, in Mississippi has ruled that the federal prohibition banning private ownership of quote-unquote machine guns made after 1986 violates Second Amendment protections of the U.S. Constitution. So you got to go back a ways. In 86, the Hughes Amendment was added to the Gun Owners Protection Act, or GOPOB, most people refer to it as the Gun Owners Protection Act, as a poison pill, which is an amendment added to a bill to guarantee its failure. But in the case of this, the bill passed with the poison bill attached. The Hughes Amendment closed the National Firearms Act registry for new machine guns after 86. It amended 18 U.S. Code 922 of the federal statute. So here you had a guy who was arrested for owning unregistered machine gun made after 1986, facing 10 years in prison, filed a motion for dismissal, claiming that the machine gun prohibition law violated their client's Second Amendment protected rights. Judge Colton Reeves begrudgingly granted the defense's request. He cited that he was bound by Supreme Court precedent. Mr. Brown's argument was once foreclosed by decades of precedent. Not anymore. In 2022, the Supreme Court established a new historical paradigm for analyzing Second Amendment claims. The Second Amendment reads, of course, and if I ever forget it, which I won't, those 27 words, I have it tattooed right here on my arm, but a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. Brad, I think this is great news. Where it goes, I don't know, but we are seeing movements to shut down that National Firearms Act, rid the suppressors, short barrel rifles, etc. Could this be a good start? And should I be allowed to own that gun because the Democrats don't want me to?
I mean, yeah, any victory in court, for us is a positive step. I mean, I would say that the Hughes Amendment and FOPA 86, I mean, really that's just an extension of NFA, and NFA on its face, in my opinion, is completely unconstitutional because it essentially is a poll tax, right? So you can't charge people money, a tax, to go vote because you can't charge people money to exercise a constitutional right.
Right.
So how is it possible that we can charge a $200 tax stamp and a background check of fingerprints to make people so people can exercise a constitutional right?
And wait a year, about roughly.
Right. Yeah. What is the famous thing? Justice delayed is justice denied, right? So if you're denying my ability to exercise my rights now, you're taking that right away. And so NFA is unconstitutional, and anything attached to NFA or an extension of NFA is also unconstitutional. So, the fact there's even a firearms registry in the first place is wrong. And then the idea that they can just close it off and say from now on you can't get anything, on this list that we deem to be, verboten. You can't have that. That's double wrong. And so, I'm hoping that we might get suppressors to be cash and carry sometime this year. I think it's a possibility.
I think it's a possibility too.
Once we do that, then you know what? Let's go for the next one and let's get machine guns. Machine guns, short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, AOWs. It all needs to come out. It should all be legal for anybody that wants to buy them.
Justin Moon, you own Kahr Arms. You also own Thompson. As you know, I have a beautiful Tommy gun, and I never forget when I bought the gun. Frank said to me, you live in Georgia, you can buy this gun, you can buy the full auto, you can buy the short barrel, the SBR, you can buy the suppressor, you can buy all these things. And this is not something I wanted to play with, but I do want to ask you this first. Have you ever fired a full auto Thompson, Justin?
Well, Mark, the fact of the matter is, the reality is that machine guns are relatively commonly owned in the U.S. today. There are almost 1 million transferable machine guns being sold in America. And really, the real point of this is that rights right now in America, machine gun rights, is basically reserved for those who have enough money to purchase it, only for the wealthy. And that's really discrimination against those less affluent or less fortunate. And, I've had the privilege to own quite a few machine guns, and I do through my company, but I think that right should be for all Americans, not just for wealthy ones.
Well, you better believe it. And, ladies and gentlemen, anything post 86 you can't buy. You can buy before 86, and they're wildly expensive. I mean, to pick up a full auto Tommy gun is in the tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So it is prohibitively expensive for most Americans to buy anything pre-86. And obviously, I think that was part of what they wanted to do. That was part of their motive there. But Neil, I'd like your thoughts on that too, because it's clearly a step in the right direction. The left is going crazy listening to this right now. Who's going to sell us your machine guns? Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying. So get over yourself. Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, but, I don't have a problem with someone having a machine gun. Patrick J. Buchanan, years ago when he was running for president, I forget which race it was, but they asked him if he would accept any restrictions on gun rights or gun ownership, and he said that he would accept it if the firearm was large enough that it required a truck to tow it. Then he's like, okay, maybe we can have a conversation. But I do have a question for Justin. We're coming up on the third season of Reacher. Is a Desert Eagle going to be part of season 3? Because
Great
it was a
question.
big part of season 1 and season 2.
Well, I certainly do hope so. But I'd like to add one thing. I did recently purchase a 74 millimeter howitzer for at auction for my store. So I would just
very nice.
Well, also, wait a minute, Neil. Hold on. I got to ask this.
Matter of law.
Hold on a second, Neil. Hold on. I got to ask this because I'm going to be up at the Rod of Iron Festival in October, and this time I'm going to be ripping my guitar on that stage. Justin, I just want to let you know that. That's my goal. Can I pull the fire in? Oh, I want to pull the lever on that thing, bro.
Well, with the howitzer, the challenge is the ammunition because you have to register each round. And a fade device.
Well, Joe Biden, guys, Brad, you know this, famously said you couldn't own a cannon. Well, yeah, you could. And Neil, I'd correct Patrick Buchanan on that, Neil, because a cannon had to be pulled by horses or by trucks. So
well, the other thing is
you got 10 seconds.
A Gatling gun has always been legal because each barrel is considered just a regular individual weapon.
I have fired one of those at Media Day at the range a number of years ago, and they are just vicious fun. If you ever want to see one in great use, ladies and gentlemen, go rewatch The Outlaw Josie Wales. If you know, you know. Brad Premo, CEO Lead Slingers, thanks for being here, brother. I've enjoyed the conversation as always. Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Arms, yet again, proving why you are a fan favorite. That howitzer's beautiful. Can't wait to see it when I get up to Kahr Arms coming up in a few months. And Neil McCabe, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club or your howitzer. I'll see you on the radio tomorrow. Enjoy your day.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance.
X Insurance.
On the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, guys. Fun show, fun hour. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for being here and not watching that football game, whatever it was we were talking about earlier. The Super Bowl. Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. But no, really, seriously, thanks for being here. You really do appreciate it. A lot of people like me turned that stuff off a long time ago, and I just never missed a beat. But a fun show today. I really hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense for you, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific for the hour, 4 to 5 Eastern, and 1 to 2 Pacific. You can do the math in between. You know what time zone you're in. And until we meet on the radio again tomorrow, enjoy your day, stay safe, and we'll see you on the radio tomorrow on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Have a great day, guys. There we go. Done and done.
And that's a wrap.
Yeah, fun shit. Okay, guys.
Now I get to spend like $500 on Eagle merch.